worked. Yay. Hi, Tim.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, where are you at? What are you up to?
I am at home right now, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I am I am dog sitting, and the dog is a little ornery right now. So if I have to get up to do something, I apologize. Um, but yeah, hanging out and do the theater world thing. So got a show tonight that I'm producing, so I'll be at the theater tonight with New City Players. So
Yeah.
that's a part of life too.
Yeah. And what theater do you perform at mostly?
So, New City Players is the company that I work with, and we perform at Island City Stage, which is in Wilton Manors.
Yes. 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 And that's where your latest or greatest, I'm not sure, film came from. Thank you.
Thank you, Places. Yeah, that's right. We shot that whole film there. That's right.
Yeah. That was amazing. I was laughing so hard. I didn't know it was so dark. What a great story.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
where is that in production right now?
So it's been submitted to some festivals, but I've been like tinkering with some sound stuff. So I actually just got what I hope is a final version. It's like always going back and tinkering and finding things. It's like, oh, the room tone is weird here. We need to adjust that. So I'm just in those like last, like I'm so ready for it to be done. Um, but just the final couple things.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about post sound audio
Oh,
all the days. Many people
yeah,
do not underline how important post sound is before festival, before screening it in an audience, etc. But
yeah.
post sound is one of those you just got to have it.
Hmm.
It's just a necessary step in creating a cleanliness, and I think your audience will let you get by with some visual problems, but they won't let you get by with audio problems.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. It's not fun. I'll put it that way. But it's so necessary to get it to the final stage. So
Well, Tim, I want to ask you some questions about what it was like to be on Pit Bulls and Piranhas.
yeah, definitely.
Not quite a year, but July of last year, we went into
Hmm.
production, and what a production it was. We all lost a couple pounds of sweat weight
Yes.
in the sauna the
Yeah.
first 2 days, and then we were outside in the midst of South Florida summer weather for 2 more days.
Hmm.
So, but what attracted you to the role, or were you attracted at all? How does your agency work, and how did you fall into this?
Yeah. So really my agent sent me the notice. They're looking for this kind of role, this age person, and I saw it. And really, anytime there's someone doing something narrative in South Florida, I'm excited when that comes, across my email, because so many of the things are commercials, which is great because they pay well, and it's a fun time. But the stuff I really want to act in is film, television, characters, building characters. And so I saw it, and it looked a little crazy. And I've played a few unhinged characters before, so it's something that I feel like I can do, and I'm not overly afraid of, although I certainly have qualms at times. And I was just like, why not? Let's submit. If someone's making something, I wanna join if I can.
Yeah, no, your self-tape was haunting, brutal, scary. The way you did it, I'm assuming you were alone, but I don't know. You were so intimately close to the camera, whatever you were
Mm,
filming with. And I was like, wow, this is really this is how it would be filmed. It's that
mm,
intense. And so I just felt like you got something that many others hadn't quite I don't know what that relevance is, that some some people just get the character of any notes ahead of anything. And so you had this thing. I'm getting a phone call. I'm so sorry. I was supposed to mute. It was a thank you moment, because we had seen on Backstage and a number of other open casts so many Dans, and they were all so different. At the screening, we're gonna show some of those Dans, so you'll get to see.
Fun.
There's such a variation in the casting process of who these characters can be. It's so critical when you're choosing someone. Will they be able to carry out all of these intimate details of this, kind of morally off-compass character? And I know you, coming from theater, that being your primary thing here, you had all the knack for it, but I always get personally nervous when theater people go into film, because I'm like, are they going to do it like theater? But it wasn't that concern at all. You were such a smooth transition into film. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's nice that you feel that way. I feel like I'm still a work in progress when it comes to modifying a performance, because the stage there is just this sense of kind of boundlessness, like, oh, I can go the length of the stage. If I have an impulse to move somewhere during the rehearsal process, I can move there because there is space. I have to project my voice to the back of the theater so that everyone can hear me. And so it lends itself to characters that are a little more theatrical, a little more out there, not people who we see every day. Which I think Dan is certainly one of those people that we don't come across in our lives. Most of us don't come across in our lives too often, although he certainly represents a subculture that exists. And so for me, I think it's just this continual process of how do you take all the things that physically you're kind of feeling and really try to just put them in your head, in your jaw, in your eyes, and just reduce it. And I have a hard time doing it sometimes, I think, when I watch myself. But I've done a handful of things now, so I think I'm getting better at it, and hoping to continue to get better at it and have more opportunities to be on camera. And then I think sometimes some roles, they just are, even on film, they are theatrical, and that's okay. It's okay for it to be big on camera. Not everything has to be subtle and beneath the surface. And I certainly think some of the moments in this film for Dan, it just kind of is that. And that's where with the self-tape, I read the script and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it all the way, and I'm gonna try to get, create the sense of danger, and I think that's where like the closeness to the camera came from, but not shy away from the risk that this character poses to those around him. So that's kind of what I remember thinking when I was taping it, was just, I'm just gonna make a strong choice, and if that's not what they want, it's not personal. It's the casting process. But if it is what they want, at least I made a strong choice, and they know what they're getting, or they know what they could get, if they wanted that.
Yeah, it was very much wanted. It was just one of those moments where I was like, wow. And you're only seeing 2 pages, of the whole, job at hand. And so when Glay was saying, I didn't know what I was asking him to clean up.
Right.
She's like, I play this, part, this dialogue. And then when I see the script, I'm a little baffled by the reality of the scene. So it's a heavy themed, real life, raw, gritty film.
Yeah.
I love doing true to nature, true to like not glamorizing what isn't, a subculture, a lower socioeconomic and their challenges. I just think to be as honest as possible. And you brought so much honesty to this character, not having maybe per se lived the experience, but you put yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that. Did you have any hesitations for this role?
I did, yeah, and I think we talked about this when we got into the process. Once I did get the whole script and read it, it was certainly disturbing, and the things that my character had to do were uncomfortable. It's like read it and you're like, oh wow, I'm really gonna have to go here and do this, and so I think there's always some. I mean, hopefully, maybe when I was a younger actor, I think there was like, oh yeah, let's just like, whatever, this is crazy, I'm gonna go for it. These are the kind of roles that are so fun, like these really bad people, and you just get to be wild. I don't feel that way as much anymore. I think when you do these parts, you're not the person, right? But your body is still going through the motions of what they're doing. I think that's something we've just been learning about more and more in acting and in mental health awareness. And so I want to be cautious of and I've had an experience where I've done other shows and that are very emotionally draining, and I come to the end of a play and I'm just like totally drained, and then I'm looking for a way to cope with all of the emotional expression that I've just gone through. And one show I remember I did a few years ago, it was the coping mechanism was after the show was over, going to Wendy's and getting a Baconator and basically eating my feelings. It's just like a weird, which is like, whatever, go to Wendy's, have a Baconator. But after every show, for 3 weeks, 12 shows or whatever it was, it's like, come on, man, that's not a healthy way to cope with that. But that just kind of keyed me into like, okay, I'm not immune to the effect that a character could have on me playing them. And I think when I was younger, I kind of thought like, no, I can separate from the actor from the character, and it's not going to be a problem. But I think the more kind of sensitive and vulnerable and empathetic you become as a person, the more susceptible you are to just kind of exhausting yourself or like harming yourself, whatever it may be. So that was a very long answer, but yes, I had some concerns. But the thing that I thought was like, I think what I will bring to this role is like, I want everyone involved to feel safe and to feel confident that the person who's playing this role isn't gonna like come on set and be a crazy method actor and like just create tension and drama off camera and make an uncomfortable work environment because they're trying to get a performance. It's like the material was so sensitive, and I was like, I don't know, maybe it's a little martyry, but I was like, I'm going to do this because I don't want someone else to do it and be awful.
Yeah, well, we're glad you took that role. And Glay said the same thing in her interview. Is something that really stood out to her was you mentioning, I'm stepping into this role in 2 parts. One, to keep everyone safe, the other to do the role.
Yeah.
But that twofold, and like you said, it's sensitive. He has to get so angry. He has to become so physical. And if it's in the wrong hands, it could have tore down the whole set.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. We had, right after scene, we had Tim again.
Yeah.
Who was helping Glay up and like making sure she's okay and
right.
checking in with everyone. You have such a sense. I think it comes from your history of being a leader and a director in your own theater world as well. We have to take care of cast and crew and everyone on set. But let's talk about mental health since you brought that up. And what are the best practices? Because this is a huge part of the film industry, that they're teeter-tottering on what are going to be the protocols for these types of roles, for cast and crew going as heavy as they go, witnessing it, being it, and then having to undo it thereafter. Uh-oh, we lost him. Uh-oh. Let's see if he comes back. Ding, ding, there he is. Okay.
Sorry. I'm on Do Not Disturb now. I just had a call come in and interrupt this whole thing. What was the last thing you said?
Oh, I'm curious what we think the protocols could be for like Film Florida, and for to put in a clause that protects the mental health. Is it some type of therapy? Is it having, for example, now we have Nicole Perry doing a very specialized job on set, which is the intimacy coordinator. That has been tooth and nail to get on sets, and we need it for these intimacy scenes and to advocate for both sides of the production, like and she comes in for a win-win situation. When we're talking about mental health, is there someone we should be engaging with that covers the mental health component of everyone on set?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard of productions that have that sort of third party outside of the play or outside of the shoot resource for really anyone involved in the production. And I think we did something. I think when my company did A Raisin in the Sun, we had a therapist who yeah, we did. We had a therapist who we basically said, okay, here's someone who's they're a board member, they're involved in our company, but they're not involved in this production. If anyone is like working through something, this is a tough show. It's very emotionally charged. It's racially charged. There's generational trauma involved in it. So if you need someone to talk to, here's our resource for you. Now, I haven't done that for every show I've been in, and it is a question of resources, of course. But I think those things do exist, and I think it'll become more and more common to have, just like we have a fight director, we have an intimacy director, choreographer, and then we have a resource for people on the mental health and therapy side as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that becoming an industry standard, especially, and then how do we say which productions get it?
Right.
So right. What's the criteria? I suppose we've got a ways to go before that happens. I've just reached an organization called Care Resource here in Oakland Park to see if they would be interested in casting or allowing us to have two of their therapists at the screening in the event one is maybe charged up or triggered by some of the material on screen.
I've worked with them before. I've shot a couple. I shot like a short documentary for them. So if I don't know if you don't have a contact there yet, I can connect you with someone.
Yeah, I love Care Resource. I've been in therapy with them for 6 years now.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, what a fun thing to think about mental health. And then I love that you mentioned generational trauma. I think that's I don't want to say it's a newer term, it's an age-old term, but I think it's coming more and more into the vocabulary of the home these days. Is what is generational trauma to you? Like, what is your definition of it?
Oh, geez. I mean, it's certainly not my expertise by any means, but it seems to me that it has to do with traumatic events occur to someone, and that has a profound effect on them and how they live their life, raise their children, interact with their family, whether they know it or not. The traumatic things we go through, that all of us go through in varying degrees throughout life. Oftentimes, if they're unexamined or unexplored, or we don't we don't deal with them, they make their way into those around us because of our behaviors, because of our habits, because of our assumptions. Um, and then that can create a new trauma in a child, in a partner, that then, it gets passed on like a virus, which is why I think, we can't control what happens to us, right? But we can control how we deal with what happens to us. And so that's where I think many there are actual victims in the world, which is devastating. Um, but at the end of the day, all of us are responsible for ourselves to try and help ourselves, And so I think um, I think that's where sometimes a victim mindset can harm us, a victim mindset. Obviously people are victims, but like empowering victims to know that there is help, that there's a way through, that there's a path. And it feels to me that therapy is kind of the first step for that. I've been in therapy for coming up on 3 years now. And it's just been, it's just an amazing experience to have someone who is not in your life like everyone else is in your life, and they're just an observer in a way, and they can share, advise, listen, help. It's just really profound and helpful. And so to some degree, I hope that all of us take time to better ourselves so that we don't pass on our wounds to those we love, and we can stop, generational trauma from continuing to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I don't know. The only word I think you didn't mention, but you said it in a way, is the cycle.
Yeah.
Is you can break that cycle or it continues.
Yeah.
It's passed down, and sometimes we don't even know why. Like there's
Right.
not a conscious connection to it. And again, with resources like therapy, and therapy becoming hopefully unstigmatized through the years,
Mm-hmm.
and like people, inching towards wanting to better themselves through the help and resources and coping mechanisms and every tool that you can put in your toolbox, that's available, is fantastic. Well, I didn't know it was going this route, but let me get back to the questions.
Sure.
What's your process to get into character? Any character, or Dan, for example?
Yeah, I think every process is different. This is such a stock answer from actors. If you're like an actor interview junkie like I am, every character kind of asks for or demands something different of you and of your imagination. I think the thing for me with the darker characters is, I think kind of two things help me. The first is just like a sense of relaxation and concentration, and kind of being in that lower space, where it's kind of just like I'm focused, and I've thought about the actions that I need to complete. I think I'm a little, it depends on the role, but it's like sometimes you want to get into the why of the backstory, and like, well, why are they this way, and why, and you sort of come to this place of empathizing with the character you're playing, and fighting for them, and even if they're abysmal, you defend their choices because that's your job as the actor. I think sometimes that's an approach. I think sometimes you just that's not necessary. You just need to do what the text requires of you, and you need to hit the moments and the beats that the director is looking for, and you don't have to have like, thought I was on do not disturb, maybe not. You don't have to like walk around your house like pretending to be someone you're not. You just need to know, this is what I need to deliver for this scene. And then you get on set and you realize, oh, here's all the shots. Okay, this is what I need to deliver for this shot. And it's really about action, and it's make believe, right? It's pretend. So I didn't feel the need with Dan to like figure him out and understand his psychology at a deep level and have pages of backstory. I was like, I just need to physically get in a place where I feel ready to perform, and the way he carries himself and the way he talks. And then I just need to focus on the action of each beat. And some roles, are like that, and some are a little more, let's figure this out cerebrally and draw on that as the process unfolds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you done a psychological thriller yet?
I have not. No.
I have not either. We should talk.
Yeah.
The next,
yeah, we should.
Because that's you really want to get into the mindset of
right.
that person. You really have to draw on the motivation for each thing.
Yep.
In this case of a proof of concept, you don't need as much backstory. Although there was plenty of backstory, you just don't need it.
Right.
Right. But yeah, he was definitely a tricky character. But yeah, you had a lot of fun with him. I could tell. Actually,
that was the second thing. So the first thing is like knowing what I'm doing, and the second thing is like being able to have a good time at certain times, and just like being able to be a normal person, even though I'm drenched in sweat. I look the way that I look, and it just kind of depends. That's where it's being an actor is a little bit nutty, and I know like some sets crew is like tiptoeing around actors, and we have to make them feel okay, and we have to, and I work on both sides, so I understand. I understand that the psychology of an actor is something that can be delicate, and mine is no different. When I am, sometimes I want to joke around. Sometimes I want to focus.
Well, in the world of play, I have looks like a 13-second video to show. It comes out tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
I hope you can see it. Let's see.
Manna from heaven.
So that was an area. Let's give him a moment to come back. I think he's the most popular director ever. He's getting all the calls. That was a moment you were having some fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I have another moment which was very intimate. I have many moments on here. But there's a Matt and Craig duo to show.
Man, you take it easy. This ain't got nothing to do with you. Hey, man.
Much more intimate, much more forceful. Definitely two different spaces, but two of the same characters.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the stuff with Matt was a lot of fun because he was just game for anything. He was super just like, yeah, grab the back of my neck. He was a great scene partner in that way. And I was still checking in because I'm like, is this okay? I want to make sure we're on the same page. But he was just a great scene partner. So I felt comfortable, especially because we rehearsed. The rehearsal process definitely helped us to be ready when we got on set to be able to do what we needed to do. But in rehearsal, I was able to see, because my thing as well, it's like, because I'm on both sides, I really want to make sure that I am working well with my scene partners, and I like have a sense of what's going to help them succeed. I don't want to come in here with my process and be like, this is how I achieve a performance. I just think that's detrimental to telling a story. Now, the flip side of that is I think sometimes you have needs, right? I need this in order to perform at my best. And I think that's great. And every actor needs to have that sort of checklist for themselves. But some actors' lists are longer than others. And I think my list is a little bit shorter, than maybe most actors. It might be getting a little, as you get older, you sort of realize your boundaries a little more and it gets a little longer. But I just like to be a person who's like, let me try to, the people with the longer lists, what they need to succeed, let me try to adapt and make sure that I'm bringing the right energy and professionalism and sense of play or sense of seriousness so that they can succeed as well. Because I feel like I can be kind of flexible and adapt to what's going on. So in that real close scene, Matt and I felt comfortable being a little rough. And he would, at least from what he told me, he was comfortable with that as well. And we had a good time. And then, the spitting thing, that's just, sometimes you just are, I don't know, you just want to do something weird. You just want, you get the impulse. I got the impulse, so I just did it. It's one of those things that is one of the joys of acting, is following those impulses, following those moments of they just appear. They weren't planned, they weren't premeditated, and it just is there. And rather than doubting it and being like, oh, is this going to be too much, or is this going to be weird? As long as everyone is safe, right? As long as you're not hurting anyone, follow that impulse. And maybe it's a choice that makes no sense, or maybe it's a choice that the director is like, oh, wait a second, that's a new moment, or that's something that I didn't think of, and now I have that, in the editing room to be able to use. The worst thing that could happen is that you make a choice that's not used in the film, which is the vast majority of choices you make anyways. So might as well throw something out there every now and then if it comes to you, to see if it can improve a moment or make something more exciting or more humorous, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I'll say there's about 4 minutes on the cutting room floor, because in order to make it into certain festivals, we had to be at a 15-minute with credit cutoff.
Yeah.
So as Aaron Lee, the editor, was going through and finessing each scene, you and Craig had such a dynamic connection that all of your scenes are way longer than we ever expected.
Oh no. Yeah, we were riffing.
Yeah, you were going off. And so she's like, but this is great. And I'm like, yeah, but oh no, we're at 19 minutes.
Yeah.
So we had to chippity chop chop. And it still makes sense, but boy, there's these moments, these like longer pauses that were so lovely in the 19-minute that we no longer have, as we had to shave off 4 minutes. But yeah, I'll have to do some kind of deleted scenes, footage on YouTube or something, so everyone can see. Because you guys just were going ham. Like it was this super intimate bonding time that we got to be, that we got to record. So we had plenty to choose from.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no shortage of that. Let's see here. Was there a most challenging part for you? I think you kind of mentioned it already.
Yeah, I think, I think that the fight scene, it's not even really a fight. I guess it's a fight. I don't know how much you're revealing about the film or what terms you're using to describe it at this stage.
Yeah, I call it the domestic violence choreographed scene.
Okay. I was going to say domestic abuse, but I didn't know if you're like withholding what happens but yeah, I'd say that scene was the most challenging. And it's, you want to get the choreography right. You want to be safe. You want your scene partner to be safe. So I think that's what makes it challenging is like, and then you get in the space, very tight space, you know, okay, we worked one thing in the garage on the mat, but now we're moving into the actual space and it's way hotter. Everyone's drenched in sweat and it's a way smaller space. Okay, we're gonna have to change some things and adapt some things. And how do we keep the level of focus and safety that we were able to have when we were rehearsing, and now transfer that into this very small, very hot space and keep the performances there as well. So I'd say that was the most challenging. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't really sweat. It's a gift. But that days, those 2 days, it was like from the behind the scenes camera, just dripping off my elbow.
Oh yeah.
I was like, wow, this is a problem. We are in a sauna. We are in the armpit of America. We are in, because it's July. I knew it was hot, but I didn't think it would be that hot. But it's just the size, and we were baking inside of like a little oven.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for hanging in there, because we knew it would be hot. We didn't know how hot.
Right.
And the generator, you know, we have plenty of room tone scenarios that we're going through right now, but everything's checking out pretty nicely. Yeah, the challenging part, I think it's weird because for me, it was a challenge to, first of all, focus so much on the domestic violence as a real scenario in life, but to also have it come across as real and raw, and to be able to see that in its entirety and be so happy at something that's so sad. It's very contradicting, but it was on my bucket list to be certain that I could do a scene like that, as well as with the dogs. In the filmmaking list of things you want to do, you know, there's a series of things that I'd like to, tough subjects, heavy themes that I want to, that I want to conclude in creating, for sure. This lifetime in this movie, they're all kind of written in there because it's the movie that I want to do all my bucket list.
Yeah.
So everything from arson to, I guess, sexual violence, to every single, you know, traumatic thing that could possibly happen to a person in their lifetime. But thank you for being so safe about it. I love that safety is first on every one of your checklists.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're playing make-believe, you know, so everyone getting out unscathed is much more important.
Absolutely. What was a highlight for you?
I really enjoyed working with Glay. You know, she was very kind, very just like secure in herself, you know, just a person of confidence and humility. So it's like I came in with a sense of, all right, I want to be able to support this person because she's going to have to go through some stuff in this film, and I want to be able to be strong and be a stable, good scene partner. And she was that to me, you know. She was just like a huge risk taker, not afraid to go to deep, dark places. And so I just have a lot of respect for her as an actor. And I just, so it was nice for me to not have to worry about like, is this person okay? You know, she was just great. So I'd say working with Glay was a big highlight for me.
Yeah, I think we all had that experience on set. I loved watching her get into character. It was like a possession, and she was kind of like go into her muscles in her face and back into her body, and then she was there, and it was a wonderful thing to watch on camera.
Yeah, she was amazing.
And you two as a duo were dynamite, even though it's interesting that you're at wits with each other pretty much the whole time. There's you are intimately involved, which is the curiosity of why domestic violence even happens in the first place. So did you walk away with any insights?
Well, I certainly learned a little bit about betting on a certain sport, if you can call it that. I don't think you can call it that. That was a new experience, obviously. And working with the dogs was really interesting. I think as I'm reflecting on it right now, I feel like one thing that I've walked away from is, okay, I was a little nervous going into this, but this is something that I can do. You know, I can do this type of work and this type of character because like I said, I've played darker, more sinister characters several times, but none with this level of specificity with the domestic violence stuff. And I think I was able to portray the sense of danger, you know, and risk, and maybe even like be, you know, I have memories of being on set and like as the scenes were going on, you could feel the energy in a room, you know, like people on the crew being kind of like, "Oy," like kind of yikes. I don't know what it is, but just feeling like, was that real, or like that was really messed up, and I'm a little uncomfortable. So being able to like get there and really make everyone feel a level of discomfort, it's just, there's no way around it. You know, there's no way to witness that, even knowing it's fake, and not just be like, what is happening right now? So being able to get there, but not lose myself, you know, not like I was exhausted that day physically, but I was not like, you know, like you said, it's cut. Okay, catch your breath. I'm not like in a state, you know, I'm not like in some altered emotional state, and I have to, you know, go, I don't know what. So that was just like a thing of like, okay, I can do this. It taught me that I can do this. Sorry, it took me a while to get there, but.
No, I love the storytelling. Absolutely. There were some uncomfortable moments. I remember Lava Lou was like, oh, shoot.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, because you kind of take a step back, because he didn't know, coming in as audio, didn't know the whole script, you know? Right. He just was like, yeah, I'll do it. Absolutely. Lava Lou, to your rescue. Yep. And so some things were very surprising to him. When I watch it on, even in the little snippets, I'm like, I look at my face when the reflection comes up, and I'm like, whoa, I'm doing that, and I know what's coming. How's the general audience going to react? I personally love kind of these shocking, more, I don't know how to call it. It's just a triggering roles. I just love them.
Why is that? Say more about that. I'm curious.
There's something about having a visceral reaction. If I feel scared, or the need, like if there's an actual reaction in me, I know it's pretend. What I love is when it's based on a true story, and then I'm like, oh shoot, this is like pretend, but it happened. So they're recreating this. This is so deep. You know, I watch a lot of investigation investigative discovery, I believe, and I Shouldn't Be Alive, and these kind of tragic stories that come out of real humans being relentless and psychopathic and beyond the understanding of a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
And you think you only see it in movies, but all of this stuff happens in real life. So the more visceral, I love like when I dry heave, if it's absolutely the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. I've seen a few movies that just made me, whoa.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
But I'm not like this. I'm like, show me more. Like
Wow.
what? Because somebody thought of this. And that idea was on a piece of paper and now it's on the screen. And to me, that's magic. Whereas I have other friends who will be at the screening. However, they're like, I don't want to come.
Yeah.
I'm coming to support you, but I like to watch comedies. I like to be uplifted. I did the Year of Laugh last year, which was my comedic year, where all I watched was stand-up comedies, anything. I had to just be mindful that I was watching too many scary films.
Yeah.
And that influences my psyche a lot. But I love it. The darker the story, the more interested I am in how the character got there, what their psychology is, what motivates them to do the things that they do. Yep. Long story, but
no, that's interesting. I mean, there's certainly people. There's other people like you. You're not alone. You know, I think that this sort of desire to really truly feel something in a movie that is visceral, dangerous, you know, it makes a lot of sense. That's why people love horror films. You know, because it's like they really create a feeling in you when you're watching them. So it makes sense.
yeah, I watched a movie last year and I says, I'm gonna go check if my door is locked. Like I'm like genuinely scared. Like I love being that scared that my own physical life is somehow considered.
My gosh.
What was your favorite, if you have, favorite scene to film and why? Because you had the hardest scenes to film.
Favorite scene to film. I mean, I like that scene where where Craig and I are counting the money and we're by the fire pit and when I do the spitting the beer thing and cooking that steak, you know, trying to get the steak cooking thing. There was something very kind of technical about some of those moments that was a fun challenge, but it wasn't as like intense and exhausting as some of the other scenes we did, so it felt a little more relaxed. And it was like, okay, we got to get the steak. How do we get the steak cooking right? And you know, these smaller moments of like picking up the money, exchanging the money. I can't. It's been so long now. I can't remember exactly, but I feel like there was all this choreography happening and timing that we were trying to get with the exchange of money and the lines. And you know, any time that you get to kind of speak, like you're trying to intimidate someone else, but it's not yelling and screaming. It's just more like there's a intensity. I love playing that, you know.
And you did that well, because your dynamic with him was perfect. It wasn't like there was no yelling. It was get the tarp.
Yeah.
Like
it's like the clear alpha. You know, I don't have to prove, because we already, and I think we talked about this on set. You know, my thing was like, we already have the scene where he is out of control. You know, I think it'd be nice to have a scene where he is still the alpha, there's still a lot of scariness there, but it's not because he's yelling and screaming. It's just because of his status. So being able to play that part of it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And you were playing dual roles. You were literally filming an independent, heavy themed film in the daytime and going to do what kind of character in the night?
It was a comedy. And I was playing a like bumbling police officer, basically. So it was long. Those few days were long days, very interesting to be inhabiting both worlds. Very exhausting, but a fun challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I have pictures from those days of just being like, here's the cop guy. He's like, my name's Chet. And then 2 hours earlier, I'm just dirt on my face, and it was wild.
You pulled it off. That's a huge growth to have. I mean, why else, when else, only in this industry would you ever be asked to do such a thing. So
right.
Congratulations for pulling it off.
Thank you.
Is there any, you answered this one already. I'm jumping into what's the greatest lesson you've learned in your life? This is a personal question. So any lesson that really sticks out to you to get to know you as Tim?
I think one thing that sticks out that an idea that I attached to early in life, and it's certainly grown and expanded and become more robust, but at its core, I think coming back to this question for yourself is really valuable. In any situation, whether it is work or personal or I guess those are the two realms. in a career setting or in a personal setting, sometimes we're making decisions or we're exhibiting things because we don't really know what we want. And so I think sometimes stepping back and asking yourself, like, what do you want? What do you want out of this opportunity, out of this relationship? And not in a selfish way, like, I want to get these things, but I think sometimes we just don't really know what's actually in our heart, what our actual desires are. And sometimes they're not great. I think that, this is the path to self-awareness is this realization. Well, what do you really want? Oh, you want to control this narrative because you're trying to protect your reputation because your ego is under attack. So this is actually coming from a place of pride and self-protection and fear, and not from so it's doing that. And sometimes it's what do you really want? And it's a good thing. And you've been running in the wrong direction from it. And you've been going against what you actually want because of other people's perceptions or because of what was easier or because of whatever it may be. So I think that path to self-awareness and that assessment of really figuring out what you want, and when you come up against those desires that aren't great, working through them, questioning them, realizing that at the bottom of it is probably some sort of fear, and then going to therapy and talking about it.
I love that. I can relate very much. I do these, knock, knock, who's there? Tabitha, check in with yourself every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And I think it's potentially being on the fourth floor and having a certain awareness and, just having 4 decades behind you, you're you have something to look at now.
Yeah.
And it is selfish in the sense that I'm
right.
checking in with myself to see where I'm at, what do I want, and I get this one little life. What do I want to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I want in that inner circle? A lot of times you have to rearrange certain energy that's maybe bestowed upon you, or some people would say taking from you. And that could be in your family, it could be in your close friend group. But if there's a toxicity, you really have to, rearrange those close people to you. You want only the best for yourself always. And it's maybe just a matter of time and a few boundaries here and there, and you can literally be living your best life.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's, you bring up a good point where in one way to look at it is like taking care of ourselves is the first step to taking care of others. So it's like being selfish in the sense of like having an awareness of your thoughts and emotions and desires, and that self-care aspect, checking in with yourself. That's going to allow you to bring your best self to other relationships, to a work setting, to a project that you're leading or a part of. So in a lot of ways, taking care of ourselves first, which is really the thing we have, right? We are responsible for ourselves. That's the thing, the real thing, and our reactions to things. It's the real thing we have any kind of control over. So starting there and spending some time there, whatever that looks like, sleep, exercise, diet, reading, going to the movies, self-care activities, getting a massage, therapy, medication. Absolutely. Yeah. All those things that like set you up for success so that you can be a service to other people, because, we're all struggling at different times. We all need a friend or guidance or help or support at different times. So if we're doing the best we can to take care of ourselves, it's going to make us more available for others as well.
Ta-da! What a great answer. That was just perfect. I love it all. Now, in closing, if you had a magic door that opened to anywhere, where would it lead you?
A magic door that opened to anywhere. Wow. The first thing that popped in my head, just because it's like, this is just on my list of things that I want to do, is like New Zealand, the Lord of the Rings tour, just the set of Lord of the Rings. I'm just such like a sucker for, I was just the right age when those movies came out, it was one of those things. And but not just like New Zealand, but like the set of Lord of the Rings, like when it was happening, seeing all the sets fully built, seeing, I think that's the magic door that I would want to walk into.
I love that. So even in your dream space, it's still in the same industry as your professional space.
Yeah. I get that's true. That's funny.
Yeah, it's because we're moved by our work. If we weren't, I tell people, like, have you ever had a project you had to do? Like, you just had to. There was no question around it. And that's this project for myself. It's the project I had to do.
Yeah. Well, you did it. Congratulations.
Hey,
well you did phase one.
Phase one complete.
Yeah.
So that concludes our interview for now, until the next one. I think it was wonderful. We went nearly an hour, 58 minutes.
We did.
We really chatted it up, but you had such great insight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy on set and off set. And I can't wait to see you on the 28th.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tabitha. Thank you for putting the project together, for asking me to be a part of it, for leading us well and creating a safe space. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. All right. We're going to unlive ourselves.
All right.